Welcome back, everyone. This is our fall semester. Have some new faces in here. Maybe you're watching this as a recording, but everyone that's at least live here with me at the moment, this is our strength and conditioning class. We will be doing our pre-assessment today, which means we will be focusing on 5 exercises to improve on throughout the term. And the term is from today until about mid-October. So if I fail to introduce myself, I'm Coach Julio or Julio, whatever you like to call me, Instructor Jimenez or Instructor Julio. I'll be your coach or instructor for this class for the next 8 weeks. These terms are 8 weeks long. We meet Monday and Wednesdays from 9 to about 9:45 or so. We'll go through a set of warm-ups, set of exercises, cool down, and then also equipment for this class. We will be going through, I would be requiring a yoga mat, also be requiring dumbbells, towel to dry off sweat, water, any of that sort. So again, main things to look out for this class is we want to make sure that we're safe and that we're also progressing and developing throughout the class. So I want to make sure that everyone that's in here, you want to make sure that your surroundings is safe. If you have a carpet underneath you, like this is a new environment for me in this cabin. I usually don't teach from this room. But if you have a carpet that slips, you might want to remove that. If you have some floors that slip a little bit, keep that in mind. If you have some furniture that you could run into, try to avoid that. If you are going to be using a chair, I would recommend using a chair that doesn't have wheels. You don't want things to be moving back and forth. And then one thing that I do always bring up is if you have your camera on, I could always correct your form, do adjustments if your camera's off and I can't see you. Unfortunately, I don't know the movements that you're doing exactly. So yeah, just try to use your best judgment, but you want to make sure that we usually go with good range of motion, flexibility, proper form. I try to make my form as best as I can. So if you want to mimic me, then you're probably doing the form correctly. But other than that, there's some information on Canvas. You'll have modules. I'll leave each module up there for about a week. They're always there, but I'll put one on the front page. And each module has a lot of information. And I'll try to review that maybe in the emails. I'll let you folks know what's in there, and you could go through that as you please throughout the week as well. We do not have any quizzes or assessments or assignments like that. But if you do miss the class session, I do ask that you watch the recording, which will usually be posted on the front page of the Canvas shell. And then also on the video of that recording, if you could just comment your initials, so it does give me an update of that you have watched the recording. Sometimes Canvas doesn't capture attendance fully. I know there's been some folks here that I see every day, and at the end of the term, when I go and check their hours, it only shows that you've been here for 2 minutes, maybe 1 hour, when you've really been here for about 10 plus hours. So yeah, so it does help if you leave your initials. But any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and speak up. You can always ask questions on the chat, but it's a lot easier if you just speak up. And then if you just want to hang out and talk about whatever, then yeah, unmute yourself and we could have those conversations while we're catching our breath between these movements, okay? So any questions to start off? I think I see a message on the chat. I'll check that halfway through the warm-up. So, all right, so let's go ahead and start with our warm-up. Today we will be doing assessments. We have 5 exercises, possibly 6. We're gonna go through those on our Canvas page and just plug up in as we're going through. And if you actually, what would be the easiest thing for me, so I could just capture and not slow us down too much, is if you could actually write down or take notes of how many of the movements you have completed as you're going through them. If you could just make a little note, and then at the end of the assessments, if you could just type that into the chat, that would be awesome. So I'll have that information. So that's the one assignment that I do ask for the folks in here. And if you're watching this as a recording, then just email me your results and I'll plug them into the spreadsheet that's going to be on the front page. Okay, so let me just check this chat real quick. Make sure. All right. And just keep in mind if we are not feeling too great today, let it be a sickness or allergies or just an injury, listen to your body. If with today's pre-assessment, if we can't do it today, then you'll see what we're doing. At least you're here to watch the movement. And then you could do this at your own time. Maybe in a couple days you could do it, or maybe next week. But yeah, just let me know what the results are. Okay. All right, here we go. So that's a lot of talking on my part. So let's go ahead and just begin by looking left to right. We'll be looking left to right over here. Up and down. Appreciate everyone coming in. I know as the weeks progress, sometimes attendance is up and down with these live Zoom sessions. Let's do neck circles. But I think today we have about 70, maybe 80% of the students are here right now. Neck circles. If you have any family or friends that you think could benefit from these classes, spread the word. These classes are free. Switch. And to register for these classes is super easy. They need guidance or assistance. Just an email away. Again, neck circles. See your snow angels. So from what I recall, some of the movements that we'll be doing is push-ups. We're doing push-ups. We'll be doing chair squats. I believe I saw jumping jacks in there. Maybe planks to work on the core, and maybe wall sits. Okay, so I think those are the 5. There might be one that I confused and it's something else, but I think I got at least 4 of them. There you go. And if you need a little bit more of a warm-up, feel free to do like Jan and get a jumping jack in there. So, all right, let's bring that right arm across. And I do ask for a personal goal too. So let it be, the one Jen mentioned a couple of terms ago always stands out to me, but maybe a goal is to put your carry-on luggage over the overhead space in an airplane when you're traveling. Maybe you want to carry, a 30-pound weight comfortably, switch over your shoulders and over your head. Maybe it's, who knows, carry a water gallon on each hand when you're, going from your vehicle to the kitchen when you're transferring a gallon of milk or something and you want to carry something or whatever it be. Maybe spend a little bit more time gardening or doing walks, whatever it is. Speaking of walks, let's go left to right. We'll start planning out our next walk. I know we're due. We're in fall semester already. For those of you that are new, in the summer we met for one of our sessions. We met at Central Park, Mile Square Park, and we met as a group. And I think we went, what was it, almost 3 miles or like 2.5 miles. These were ab circles, so hinging at the hip, coming this way and back. So we'll plan that. It'll probably have to be, I'm thinking sometime like mid September or maybe like early or mid October. I'll be back here in Mammoth in late September. Gonna do my 50-kilometer race. Let's do our big hula hoops. Big hula hoops. I remember in the summer, we were meeting every day, twice a week, for 6 classes for 10 weeks. Switch. now we're down to 8 weeks, and it's meeting for each class twice a week. And it's only 2 classes. So if you're with me, I know about half of the people in here right now, maybe more than half, you're with me 6 days a week. So, all right, let's do our hamstring stretch. So we're gonna slide our hands down to our ankles, drop your hips down, and then extend your hips up. Ooh, my knees sound like popcorn right now. And all right, last one we're gonna be doing is our quad stretch. I do want to get these assessments going as it's 9:20 already. Let's grab that right ankle and pull back. On our first day here at camp, I had a very surprising experience. My plan was to maybe just a little bit past Bishop before we got to Mammoth, drop the team off and let them go on a run. But unfortunately, two of my students, or athletes at Switch, they didn't pay attention while I was explaining the directions and what was going to happen on the run. So they got lost on the run. It was going upstream up a canyon. And so I had to, and this is after I ate a meatball marinara sandwich from Subway, a foot long too. So I had that about an hour before. I had to go look for them. I found them 5 miles into the hike or the run, but then there's no service. So then I had to run 5 miles back up the canyon. And yeah, my idea of that afternoon was just to wait for them at the van. And I ended up doing 10 miles because two boys didn't want to pay attention. So we found them though. They didn't get lost. So, all right. So let's go ahead. Prep yourself. So I believe for these exercises or for this assessment, all the equipment we need is, I think that's on. Let's turn off. Stop recording. What happened there? My camera stopped recording. That's unfortunate. Okay, so did I record here?
Julio,
Yes.
Ella cannot access Zoom. I
Not,
sent her the original link, but I don't know if that contains some better access to Zoom.
no, I mean everyone else is here, so it's something with her login or her credentials. Um, I'm not sure. I could maybe try to help her for the next class. Let me see. Yeah, I think right now it's available. I mean, everyone else got in here, so I'll have to, unfortunately, yeah, I'll have to be for the next class as we transition. Let me see. All right, so just so we know the movements, I'm going to share my screen here so you folks could see where the information is going to go. So right now, as you're kind of just waiting for me, what I need you to do, it's if you have the notes on your phone, if you use that little application, or if you have just a notepad, we're pretty much gonna record our results. Okay, so if you're looking here, we're gonna be doing push-ups or variations of push-ups. Then we're gonna be doing our wall sit, which is gonna be up against the wall, sitting down. That's gonna be timed. Planks are gonna be timed, just a regular plank or a knee-assisted plank. Chair squats, which everyone's familiar with. If you're in here, if you're not, I'll demonstrate. And then jumping jacks or side step jacks. Okay, so that one's gonna be for a count. So I'll give you folks about 2 minutes to do as many jumping jacks or side step jacks as you can, and then the personal goal. So I know in the past I've stopped the class and I've asked everyone individually for their name and their results. that tends to take a little bit longer and it just takes a little bit too long. So what I'm asking everyone to do is if you could just write down your results for these 5 movements, and then at the end of the class, you could just type them in on the chat, and I'll take a picture of that. Or you could always just text me the results if you happen to have my cell phone number, and that makes it a lot quicker and convenient. So does that make sense for everyone, or is anyone confused? Okay, if we're good, then we'll get this going. So let me see if Carmen, what I'm gonna do is just let I might actually put Ella on speaker so she could hear me during the class. So because I'll have to send her a link in an email, and that might take a little too long. So we'll start in about a minute. So hey Ella. Hey. So I'll be able to help you for the next class if possible. But we're about to start the assessment. But I could have you on speaker if you just want to listen and follow along right now. We're about, oh, go ahead. Okay, yeah. So you got that. So yeah, so if you're able to do that, then yeah, just send me your results. Okay, yeah. Hopefully for the next class we could figure this out. So okay, thank you. Bye. Okay. All right, so push-ups, okay? So I'll demonstrate. So push-ups, remember, we're either gonna be in a high plank position and we're going down and up for that push-up. I'll bring the camera down a little bit. I'm so bummed about my camera, why it turned off. So again, we'll go down and up. Or if you're doing knee assisted, make sure on your notes you put knee assisted. And again, you're on your knees, down and up. Okay? Now, I don't want people collapsing. I don't want people taking like a 30-second break in between these movements. So just use your best judgment. Once you start getting fatigued, just stop, okay? You don't want to just exhaust yourself and collapse on the floor, okay? All right, so if everyone's ready, I'm going to give the whole group 90 seconds to complete as many as you can, okay? If you stop after 20 seconds, that's fine. Just use the rest of the time to recover. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. So again, you're counting on your own. We're at 25 seconds right now. Oh, that's what happened. My camera was in picture setting. It always happens sometimes. We're at 40 seconds. We're at 1 minute. Okay. All right. We'll stop in 10 seconds. Okay. All right, folks. How are we feeling? I need some people to unmute yourselves and let me know how we're doing. Jen, you're right there. How was that, Jen?
Same as last time, 0.
All right. Did we try knee assisted?
Yeah, but still, I
Okay.
can't go down all the way.
Okay. Is it like, do we feel like the joints just kind of like restrict us at like some range?
Well, it's a strength issue, but yes.
Okay. All right, we'll work on that. So, um, oh, I think last time we had, in case I didn't mention it, but last time we had elevated push-ups too. That was an option. So remember, if you want to try again afterwards, what you could do is, you could find the couch, you're here, and then you just go here. My socks are very slippery, so just be careful. doing those, okay? So you could do those. So in case someone else wants to try an elevated push-up, that's an option too. Just make sure you mention it on the notes, okay? All right, now our next one's gonna be a wall sit, okay? So this one's a little different. So we're gonna find a wall, open, clear wall. We're gonna sit down and we wanna get close to like a 90-degree angle with our hips and our knees here. And we're just gonna sit back and then just get up. Once we're done, we don't wanna collapse down, okay? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna announce every 5 seconds the time. So if you stop at 30 seconds, just write down 30. If you stop at 35, if you stop at 50 and so forth, okay? I'll probably stop, I think at about 90 seconds because I know some of you last time did it for about 2 minutes. So we want to see at least 90 seconds, okay? Well, not at least, but I'll stop it at 90, all right? So is everyone ready? Jan, are we ready? I'm going to use Jan as our signals here. So find that open wall, no obstacles, okay? Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Again, I'll be making announcements every 5 seconds. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. So remember, if you stop at 15, just put 15. We're at 15 seconds. Good job. 20. 25 seconds. 30 seconds. 35. 40. 45. 50. 55. Good job, Jen. Jen's still going. 60. Don't limit yourself. Don't just think I'm going to stop at 65. 65. Just feel that burn. 70 seconds, so a minute 10. 75 seconds. 80 seconds. Oh, we might have to go to 2 minutes. 85 seconds. 90 seconds. Good job. 95 seconds. Okay, I'll go to 2 minutes. 100 seconds. That's a minute 40. Now, some of you are just showing off now. A minute 45. 105 seconds. A minute 50. That's 110 seconds. 155. 115 seconds. And 2 minutes. So 120 seconds. There you go, Jen. Nice work. Unless you just collapsed and I saw the top of your head. I don't know. So, okay. Good job. How did everyone else do? Anyone else get like over a minute? Give me a thumbs up.
Fair.
Okay.
2 minutes.
65.
Okay, 2. Goal
Good.
3.
Sorry, it's Monday. Fair.
That's the best excuse I've heard. Sorry. Get this on Wednesday, you get better results. That's funny. So, all right, let's rest another minute. The next one's gonna be planks. Okay, so just a regular plank. For this one, I'll give 3 options. Okay, so for your regular, actually for this one you have about 4 options. Okay, so but remember when you send me your information, put what variation you did. So your go-to plank is your elbow plank or on your forearm. Okay, that's your traditional plank. Now the next one would be a high plank, so on your hands. Okay, high plank, just like a push-up, the start of a push-up. There's knee-assisted plank, which should be forearm, but then you're on your knees. Okay. Honestly, that one, I feel like people are I could be there for 20 minutes and you'll be fine. So that would be my last option. That would be probably the easiest one. Okay. And then the last or the 4th option would be an elevated high plank. So just kind of here. And this one's pretty easy, but I'm sliding already here. So again, that's more of a safety thing. So you have those 4 options. Just think about which one you want to do. And we're going to start in about 20 seconds. Okay.
Which one is the regular one?
On your forearms, your elbows and your forearms.
Okay.
So yeah, so right here.
That's the regular one.
And remember, when you're doing that, you don't want to have your hips up in the sky. You're going to be pretty lined up.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, just put in detail what planks you're doing. So, okay. And again, we're probably going to go up to the 2-minute mark. 3, 2, 1, go. I'll start making announcements in about 20 seconds. We're at 15, 20, 25, 30. Let's not use that Monday excuse again. 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. 1 minute at 60 seconds. Check the chat. I see something here. 65 seconds. Jeff said, ouch.
Done.
70 seconds. Good job. Anything over a minute's good. 75 seconds. 80 seconds. 85 seconds. Good job, Carmen. So yeah, so remember, everyone just send me your results afterwards. 90 seconds. 95. A minute 40. And if some of you were on that group chat when we went on our walk, 145, you could also text me your results in there because 150, remember, we're going to stop at 2 minutes. 155 and 2 minutes. Good job if you got to that mark. So, Debbie, you could have kept going, huh? Debbie didn't break a sweat on that one. All right. Well, glad to have you back, Sharice. I know we saw you a little bit less in the summer than we wanted, but you're back.
Trying. It's
Yeah.
been a little crazy with stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, I hear you. All right, we are going on to number 4 now. Okay, so this is going to be our chair squats. So remember, this one, we have chair squats or variations of them. So I'll demonstrate right now. Oh. It's all this random furniture here. So this is on my traditional chair. This one sinks in. So if you folks remember the chair squats, especially if you're one of my new folks watching the recording, chair squats, we are here. No support from our hands. If you do have to use them, because this is your first time, just make sure you mention regular chair squats with assistance of arms. You could put that. But regular chair squats would be here, just standing up and standing down, or standing down, standing up and sitting down. Okay, so that's our first one. Our next one, our variation would be legs extended. So one leg is extended, go up and down. You have to mimic that on the other leg too, okay? I know sometimes we might have knee issues. Maybe one knee has a little bit more strength or flexibility than the other. So on your notes, you could put maybe right leg fully extended and left leg slightly extended. You can make those little notes just so we know. And then if you're one of my more advanced or have been with me for a while, our more advanced variation would be elevated. So that's going to be right here. Okay. All right, so this being a pre-assessment, let's go ahead and max it out. Either if you're doing chair squats, regular chair squats, let's maybe max it out at somewhere between 20 and 30. Okay, so I don't want people doing, if you're doing 40 of these, you should be doing a variation of it. And then if you're doing the variation, which is extended or elevated, let's not do more than 15. Okay, so after that, you're just showing off. So 15. Next time, what we'll probably do is do an extended, but we may have you do it with like a dumbbell here, and then we're doing a little bit more resistance. So, all right, so those are our options. So this is not going to be timed. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and begin. So start your own count. And then when I see Debbie or Jan kind of conclude, then I know Debbie's one of those that could go and do 20 on each leg. Oh, so there you go. All right, Debbie, you found your groove. That first one was a little wobbly. There you go. So remember, make those notes. And I'll enjoy the leftover water from my overnight oats. Yum. Good job, folks. You guys know I share everything with you guys. Maybe sometimes too much information, but altitude, I don't know, Jeff, if you experienced it, but things are, let's just say things are fermenting in the tummy a little bit more than usual. So I'll say the word fermenting in lieu of some other words that can make us giggle and laugh. So, and a lot of fermentation. Good job, folks. Good job, Debbie. All right, Jen. I see Debbie and Jen's. Well, Jen's. All right. Is anyone still going? I'll give about another 30 seconds. And then we'll go on to our final one. Our final one's going to be jumping jacks or side step jacks. Okay, so if you're done, great. Just write it down. And then just, again, you could just take a picture of it and send it to me or just text it out. I probably will log out of like the Zoom chat, but if you're already typing it in there, then you could just hit enter. But yeah, I prefer an email or a text. So, all right, the final one, I believe, is going to be the count of jumping jacks or side step jacks. Okay, let me just confirm. Yeah, jumping jacks or side step jacks. Okay, so again, what we're looking for, jumping jacks, we're here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, side step jacks, we're going to count each side as 1. Okay, so it would be here, 1, 2. Okay, so just make sure you put down if you're doing jumping jacks or side step jacks. Jumping jacks will get your heart pumping a little bit more, but it's less taxing on your body. I know sometimes I'll skip those when my calves are really tight or my ankles are tender or sometimes my arches. When something on my legs hurts, I just do side step jacks, okay? So, all right, we'll start in about 30 seconds. Okay. And I'm gonna give 90 seconds again to complete as many jumping jacks or side step jacks as you want, okay? So if you're tired after 20 seconds, then we go with that number. And if you go on 90 seconds, then we'll go with that number. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. There you go. Jumping jacks for Debbie and Jan. Good job. Remember, you're counting on your own. So I'm not counting for you, and I'll just let you know when we hit 90 seconds. We're almost at the minute mark, in case you're wondering. Good job, Debbie, Jen. Still going. Should we do 2 minutes? Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time. All right, so that number, write down if it was 70 or 40 or 80, put down jumping jacks, 65 or whatever it was, okay? All right, so that's pretty much all we have for today. I know some of you that are gonna be back with me in a few minutes for our next session at 10. So right there, we're gonna be doing plenty of stretching. So we're doing just a full-on session with stretching there. We won't be missing anything. No assessments for that one, just introduction and then a set and that. So now what I do need you to do right now, I guess in the next 5 or 10 minutes, if you like, is just complete your results. If you could text that to me, and don't forget to add your own personal one. Okay, so it could be anything. It could be carrying your toddler grandson or child, you know, a little bit longer than usual, or maybe graduating from 1 mile walk to a 2 mile walk, something of that nature. Okay, so any questions before we head out? Okay, so 15 knee push-ups. Okay, so everyone, actually, what I'm gonna do, if you folks don't mind, most of you already have my cell phone number. I'm gonna ask you to text me your results, okay? Because I do need to close this.
Okay.
I don't mind sharing my phone number. I think I know most of you. Just don't share my number to where I get scammed or anything. I feel like that's been happening more recently. Like I'm getting these phone calls and I don't know what I signed up for, but there's my phone number. If you don't have it, there you go. And you could just text me your name, unless I have your number already, your name and your results. And then I'll probably plug that in sometime today. Okay. But any questions before we head out?
Do we just stay in here or do we go out and go into the Wednesday link
For
or what your stretch?
for the next class, it's a different Canvas tile.
Okay.
And it's a different Zoom link too. So
All right.
all right, folks.
Thanks, Julia.
Of course. All right, there's my number. Make sure you get it before you sign out.
Thank you. See you in the next one.
All
Thank
right,
you.
folks. Good job, everyone. Yep, I'll see you guys
Thank you,
soon.
Julia. We'll see
Of
you.
course. I'm getting texts is already good.
Okay. Wow, Carmen says, it's cool.